Hello, this is Cheeky Witch. I'm doing the part 2 for the 77 Witchy community tag questions video. Yeah, I have no idea how many parts this is gonna be. I'll try to be a little bit faster than the first part, so this isn't like an 8-part video, because that would be a little bit obnoxious. But we'll find out. I think the last one I did was on familiars, which is question 11. So we'll start with question 12. If I miss one somehow, I don't think I did, but if I miss one, I'll put the answer down below. But I'm guessing I'm not missing any, so we'll see. Number 12 is, what in the craft are you best at? As in tarot, spells, or ritual. I don't really do ritual magic almost ever. I'm primarily solitary. I do participate in some local rituals, but I don't lead them, so I wouldn't say it's necessarily a strong suit. I'm trying to learn how to do ritual and hopefully eventually run ritual, but right now, not so much. Angle it down a little bit. There we go. You can actually see me now. Yay. But I'd probably say I'm the best at intuitive, kind of accidental magics. I'm really good at, like, if I, like, say I need an item, whatever. I really want more witchy books because I have a lot now, but when I first started, I was just driving by Savers, which is the same as Value Village. If you don't live where there's a Savers, Value Village is the same company. Also, what is the other one? There's one that's in Spanish as well that's apparently the same company, and they're in Canada and the US. I don't know. But I really feel like going to Savers today, and I walk in there and there's seriously like 15 pagan specific books. There's like Cunningham's Incense, Oils, and Brews, there's a Buckland book. There was like a lot of like good books. They weren't like low quality or like technically pagan or like the 800th book on meditation or something. It was like specifically pagan, very good, useful books. So like that's happened, or I wanted a cast iron cauldron, and then like not even a couple days later I feel like going to Goodwill today, so I go to Goodwill and on 13th Avenue, and I find a large cauldron that's cast iron for $4. So, I mean, like, that I'm really good at doing, just, like, knowing things or being intuitive. I'm somewhat empathic, which I think I already talked about in the last video. So I'm, like, good at, like, natural, like, not attempting to do magic. I'm also good at, like, craft magic, like, actual, like, making things, like, making candles, making, items like that for making spells, or like making oils to use in spells. And I do a lot of candle magic, so like making things. Like I actually recently made this little, I mean it's little bitty, but it's actually a pagan rosary, as you can tell by the fact it has a pentacle at the bottom, for the elements. So it has spirit, water, fire, earth, and air, which is the correct order if you like situate it the correct direction. It's the right order. And then these are opalite in the middle. And this was actually a pain in the butt to make, because I rethreaded it double through these two, or from like here to here, to make it a rosary shape. And I actually stabbed myself in the thumb. I don't know if you can even tell. It doesn't want to focus. Focus. But whatever. I stabbed myself because I used a wire to pull it through, and I stabbed myself. It was good. But yeah, it's super cute. I like using it for, I've been trying to work with the different elements more, because I think I talked about this in the last one. I had to like redo, like, I don't know what I talked about, because I had to like redo the video and it was obnoxious. I got a palm reading recently from like a senior witch, like a more advanced witch, who's really, really good at palm readings. And part of that, she told me I had all the elements in my hand, and that I should work with all of the elements and not just the ones that, like, that's why I feel drawn to more than one element at a time sometimes. Mainly water and fire, which is actually funny because my zodiac is Scorpio, which is a water element, and I think I'm on the cusp of Sagittarius, and I think Sagittarius is actually a fire element. I'm not 100% on that one. I'd have to look it up again. But yeah, so I've always been really drawn to water specifically, like more than anything else. But now I'm like really into fire, and I love phoenixes and whatever. So that's why I made an elemental one, is because I want to use it for working with all the different elements, as well as meditating and just focus stuff. What in the craft would you say you're weaker at? I would say like ritual, divination I'm not as good at. I'm good at to an extent, like depending on what it is. I'm not good at reading Rider-Waite tarot yet because I haven't used it enough. I haven't practiced enough, and I don't have, like, that one you kind of have to like memorize the meanings of the cards a little bit. Even if you don't want to go directly off the book meaning, you kind of have to sit and like really work with the cards to learn all of the cards. Whereas like Oracle, you can kind of just go off what you feel or what the words say and what those mean to you. Or even Lenormand's a little bit like in between a tarot and an Oracle deck. From my one, I have like a single Lenormand deck, and like that's a whole story. Like I have my chest of, where this is sitting, like underneath it is my chest of tarot and Oracle cards. I actually found the Easy Lenormand deck. Which, I know everything's in reverse, but if I had my actual camera, I could have it flipped around. Or if I was going to edit this, I could flip it, but I'm not, so I'm sorry. And I actually keep it in here. And I have, like, baggies. I actually got these bags from Lady Gravedancer because I ordered stuff, but I have crystals, like, I don't know if you can kind of see a black tourmaline, a moonstone, and I think, yeah, this is actually a broken hematite ring and some herbs in there. And then this is my amethyst pendulum that's in there. You dusty, stop it. Yeah, so this is the Easy Lenormand deck. So it has like the symbols as opposed to like having like the king of this and the whatever of whoever. Like they're more symbolic. So I don't think there even is like, I mean there is, I guess. Like I guess this is the king, but then there's also like, it's kind of in the middle because it does have some of the suit stuff, but it also more has symbols of things. I don't know. To me, it's kind of in between. But the funny thing with this, I actually went to a used bookstore looking for used pagan books because I heard about it and I didn't know if they'd have any. And they did have some. They had like Reiki books, and like it wasn't like specifically pagan, but like useful. And a lot of Reiki stuff and like new agey, like that kind of stuff. Not like pagan specific, but that kind of other spiritual stuff. I actually got this box for $1 at a thrift store. But I found this, I have its original box as well, but I found this in its original box, undamaged, like it had only been opened and then like closed again. Like the seal was broken, but that was like it. And all the cards were in it. And I think I paid like $4 for the deck, $5, and that was it. And I was just like, for $5, I'll buy it. It's a new condition. If the worst that happens, I don't like it, I'll resell it, trade it, or give it to a friend. That's basically my idea. If it's good enough that at a good enough price, I'm willing to buy it and use it for something else if I don't like it. But I love it. It's the first deck I felt connected to, which is kind of funny. But, you know. What is your favorite part of the craft? Spell writing, divination, etc. I would say probably spell writing. I like the research behind making spells because I do use... I own just stuff over here that I was going to use in the video so I don't have to go running around. So far, that's working out. But I actually have Cunningham's Encyclopedia of Magical Herbs. And This is by far my most recommended. If you do not own this book and you're pagan, buy this book. This is totally worth the 16, it's still backwards, but $16.95 that it's worth. I actually found this in like this I mean, it's in like virtually new condition. I found this at Savers when I got all those books, and this is Cunningham, for literally like $2. And I remember I got 15 books. You buy 4, you get the 5th one free. So I already got at least, I got 3 books for free. And none of them were more than $3. And some were like $1 or $2. So this was, I believe, $3. Their prices have gone up, surprisingly. I think they've like realized that I keep buying all of their books, because this would probably be more likely to be $5. Like between $4 and $5 instead of $2 or $3 like it used to be. I've noticed they've gone up a little bit on at least their pagan books. I don't know if that's all books, but still $5 even for a like new book that's worth $17. So, but yeah, definitely recommend. So I like going and sitting through and like going through all of the different things and figuring out what herbs I want, all the correspondences, and then sitting and figuring out the spell or the, you know, that is probably my favorite. What is the first tool you ever purchased? The first tool I ever purchased, I'm not 100% sure on. I have 2 things that I'm going to show you. One's more kind of an actual tool. The other ones I think I bought before it though, because I'm pretty sure I bought my first pentacle or pensicle before I actually purchased any tools, because I wasn't able to really go out and buy things when I first started because I was still living with my parents. But this is my first pentacle, and it has the zodiac symbols and really cheap plastic gems that have mostly fallen out already. But it's really old. It's like 4 or 5 years old, and I got this from Spencer's because, like I said, I couldn't just go out, and there aren't any. If you live in or near Fargo, North Dakota, I kid you not, the closest crystal shop is either in Bismarck, which is a 4.5-hour drive, or down in the Twin Cities, which is about another 4.5 to 5-hour drive, depending on where you go. And the traffic in the cities is absolutely horrible. I haven't been to Bismarck much, so I'm not sure if the traffic's better. It's smaller than Fargo, so I would assume that it's at least as at Fargo level or less. So, even though it's the capital, which is kind of funny. Yeah, so I don't really have access to those things. The one that I'm wearing now that's silver, this one, I think I showed this in the last video. This one I actually bought at Renaissance Festival down in the Twin Cities, and there's a booth called Uncommon Adornments, and they do have a website, so if you like Google it, you should be able to find it. And this is actually cast silver with a crystal bead in the middle. Or a crystal sphere, I should say. It's not beaded, but so I can like spin it. And this one's amethyst, but it's super, super dark amethyst, which I love. But anyway, and this was $45, and I just broke down and bought it because I wanted a nice one, because those ones are the cheap metal that changes colors and like does weird things if you don't take care of it. So I finally just broke down and bought a nice one. Though, tip, if you don't have access to a nice one, or if you don't have the money for one, paint at least the back, the part that touches your skin, and probably like even a little bit up here maybe, but definitely what touches your skin, paint it with a clear nail polish, and it actually will protect it from wearing. So, and it won't look weird as long as you don't glop it on too thick, just enough so that you're not actually touching the metal itself. Then it won't wear down, and it won't chemically react with your skin and the oils in your skin and stuff and change colors or cause your skin to change colors. So same goes with like rings and stuff. Paint what touches your skin with a clear nail polish, just so you know. The first like more of a tool that I bought probably would be this candle snuffer, because I actually went thrifting when I first started being able to go to Fargo by myself. Because I'm actually from like an hour away from Fargo, and I found this in a thrift store, and it was so pretty, and it was like $3 that I was not gonna let it go even if I wasn't gonna use it, because I couldn't burn candles at my parents' house. But it actually has mother of pearl. It's silver and mother of pearl. And I mean, it's really dirty and gunky, but you know, look how pretty that mother of pearl is though. So that's like one of my favorite things. Like, I'm so happy. I don't even know if you could go out and buy one of those. Like, I just found it. What is your first homemade tool in your practice? The first homemade tool, and I don't honestly have a lot of homemade tools. I have some, but the first homemade tool I ever made, my wind chimes are being noisy, is my wand. I do have another wand that I bought at Renaissance Festival a couple years ago that someone else made that's really pretty. But it has a little quartz point at the end, which I'm going to change this actually. I'm going to reattach that better and neaten up this chunk of leather so it doesn't look so bad. And then the handle has leather cords wrapped around it. And this is actually applewood. I got it from an applewood tree at the park near where my parents live, or my old house. And it was actually from a branch that fell down in a thunderstorm. So it has that kind of energy as well as applewood, which is really amazing. And it's a good sized branch as well. What are your feelings about raising kids in the craft? I would say that there's nothing wrong with it by any means. But personally, I don't want to raise my kids in a specific religion. I want to teach them about all religions, and when they're old enough to make the choice to follow a religion, let them choose. Because, I mean, if I would feel like I was being kind of like my parents and forcing me to go to church when I didn't really, they weren't by any means bad. Once I was older, they were like, well, if you want to go, you can go. If you don't, you don't, but whatever. Because they're also paramedics, so they couldn't go to church really because they get called out all the time if they're on call. So they stopped going to church, so I think that's kind of why they stopped making me go. When I was little, though, they did make me go, and it was very much, like, I don't know, I don't want to force my kids into my beliefs. I want them to choose themselves. But with that said, being that is my belief in what I do and what I practice, I'm probably going to show them more of my personal beliefs and explain that more than I can of other people's beliefs, but I don't want to, like, hide that from them or not teach them Christianity. Like, they can have a Bible. I'm sure, honestly, I'm pretty sure my parents would get them a Bible and have them read it, and I don't really care. It's their choice. Whatever. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. If you were a god or a goddess, who would you be? I kind of dislike this question because I don't really consider myself to be a god or a goddess, nor do I really follow or any god or goddess that specifically. I think I talked about in the last video how I have Hecate and Ganesh that I work with somewhat, kind of, but not really. I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't really work with any of them. The only thing I could even think of would be maybe Poseidon, or like a female version of Poseidon. I can't remember what his wife's name is off the top of my head. But excuse me, but like, I love the ocean. I haven't actually seen the ocean, but I love, like, energy of the water, and, like, I love going to the lakes and being in the water, so I would associate more with a deity associated with water, such as Poseidon, or Neptune, I believe is the other one. Do you use astrology in your practice, and in what ways? Not really. I don't do, like, the days of the week versus what you can do for spells. I don't do the months, like the associations with whether or not a planet's aligned wherever when I do my magics. I don't really consider that. I do know my zodiac. I'm trying to learn more about Sagittarius because I did realize I was actually on the cusp of Sagittarius, so I do associate with that somewhat too. But I'm not as learned in it because I always just considered myself a Scorpio, so I learned about it when I was younger more. And I'm just starting to learn more about Sagittarius, so I don't know as much. But I do realize how much, like, being a Scorpio, how much I actually am like that. So, you know, I mean, I do study it. I just don't use it in spell work, I don't think. What, if any, ways could you practice dark magic and still respect the beliefs of Wicca? This one is a little bit different too, because I am not Wiccan. I do not consider myself Wiccan. There's nothing wrong with being Wiccan. I just don't like the rules of it. And I'm also really eclectic. I blend things from a lot of places, and I don't particularly associate myself with any path. So that I kind of think is irrelevant. If you're going more with like the threefold law or with karma and doing dark magic, that I can kind of understand. I do follow the threefold law somewhat. I do believe in karma, but to me, if I went out and did something that had a negative effect on someone else, that's a bad thing, but I didn't intend to do it. I don't know, an example, but if I went out on my daily basis and went and did something and ended up hurting someone by accident, I don't get karma from that because I didn't intend it. So to me, it's the same concept. If I do magic and I accidentally hurt someone in it or have a negative effect in it, I don't consider that as part of karma unless my intention was to do something negative or I was putting negativity into a spell. That's different. The other thing that I think is different is doing reversals. To me, a reversal is like putting up a mirrored shield so it reflects. So basically you're just protecting yourself and allowing karma to do its work towards whoever's trying to attack you. Kind of the same with binding spells. If you're binding someone's ability to harm you or to harm others, I don't consider that to necessarily be negative as long as your intent is okay. I think I mentioned in the last video, but I did a spell with Hecate. That is why my Hecate altar is all screwed up. But I made a box. I painted it black on the outside, a dark red on the inside with mirror tiles pointing in, and then a bed of nails and pins and a poppet full of herbs, and then a sheet that says it was towards a directed person, but so-and-so can't hurt me, so-and-so can't hurt my friend, so-and-so can't do this, so-and-so can't use their powers anymore to do harm. What else was it? So-and-so, any magic or negativity that so-and-so has sent towards me is reflected to them. I think I put tenfold. Whatever. So that's kind of what I did. And I bound the poppet around a pepper and pinned the pepper to the poppet. And I also sewed a clove in the poppet's mouth for gossip, to stop gossip. There's also some slippery elm that was in there. Burnt a candle down, black candle, burnt it down, and the black candle was in black cat oil, which I had made, and cayenne and paprika and nettle, I believe. I don't remember exactly. And then I burnt it on top of a bed of salt and herbs, and then I put all of that inside the box and tied the box and buried it in a graveyard, not next to a grave, because I'm not evil. I don't want to mess with other people, but on the edge of this, it's only half used, half of it's abandoned basically, so I put it over there, away from the actual graves, but still in the fence of the graveyard, if that makes sense. And anyway, so I did that because this person was being negative, a very terrible evil person. I don't remember if I mentioned this in the last video. Just terrible evil person, extremely narcissistic, extremely abusive towards other people, and was talking crap about me that wasn't true, trying to spread lies. Most people weren't really believing her that much, but I didn't want to risk it too much, which is why I just added the clove thing in there. Just generally speaking, being a terrible person. She was also pagan, though to be fair, she was one of those pagans, which I don't like saying that, because if you believe in it honestly, it's fine, but when the only association I have with you and being pagan, when I've known you for years, is when you want to be yeah, I'm a witch and I can curse you, and yeah, I'm all powerful, and yeah, you're not doing it right because I'm a better pagan than you. That kind of person is who she was. And so I don't really consider herself a pagan, because she's just using it as a means to be like, well, yeah, I'm a witch and you can't mess with me, blah, blah, blah. Just, you know, being a terrible person and using that as a means to do that, as opposed to as her religious belief. Anyway, so this is why, that's why I ended up doing this spell, was basically to remove and reverse anything that she had done to me or was going to attempt to do to me, because she was telling people she was going to curse me. I don't honestly believe how much she could have, but just as a precaution. And then a binding, so she can't do negative magic anymore. Basically because, one, it protects me in the future. Two, it protects other people, because I'm sure she tried to do it to someone else who pissed her off because they wouldn't, you know. Basically the main reason she got mad at me is I stopped just dealing with her. I told her to shut up when she was being obnoxious, or told her to leave me alone and I wasn't going to take her crap anymore. And she didn't like that, apparently. So, anyway. So, like, in that case, my intention was my own protection, a little bit of karma towards her, which would only happen if she did something to me in the first place. So, I don't think that's negative, because it's her own doing. It's her karma coming back to her, and I'm just enabling it, I guess. And then a binding to as a future protection for myself, but also to protect other people. Because to me, that's kind of in the way, it's my responsibility, being I can fix it, but you don't, just because somebody has a gun and they're aiming it at somebody else, doesn't mean you don't try to get the gun from them, you know what I mean? I don't want her hurting someone else, because when I could easily stop it, or at least attempt to. Like, I couldn't, you know, if I'm gonna go to the length of already doing this at all, I might as well add that in there. So, but anyway, that's kind of my opinion. I also got this little book if you want some, you can't read it, but I got this little bitty book for pretty cheap off Amazon. If you want a book that, is kind of based on it. It's called Unhexing and Jinx Removing by Donna Rose. It has more of like the symbology of it and like kind of some of the hoodoo and like that kind of stuff. I mean, like, it does have like specific spells and how to make oils and herbal references and stuff. If you want that. I got it mainly because it was really cheap and it looked interesting. And I'm kind of a collector of books, especially pagan books. I'm a collector of a lot of things. Do you have any witches in your family? Not that I know of, but I also don't know much of my family. I only really know my family that raised me, which is my father and my stepmother. They're pretty much the only family that I have any significant close relationship with. My extended family that I do know, but I don't know as well, would be my aunt, which is my dad's sister, my grandmother on that side, my two stepbrothers that are my stepmom's two kids. They're way older than me, so that's why I don't know them as well. They were out of the house before I was born, so I don't really know them that well. And then one aunt on my mom's side. And I do know my mom, but she left when I was 4, I believe. When she left the first time, she came back for a couple of years just for visitations and not as custody of me at all for a couple of years. And then she left again for a number of years. She started talking to me for like less than a year when I was in college, and then I stopped talking to her. She does have paranoid schizophrenia. She is very sick. And she's also a very manipulative person, a very time-consuming person to try to deal with. And it just got to a point where she wasn't getting better, she wasn't trying, and a lot of it was just negative and causing more stress and harm than the relationship was worth, especially when I barely knew her. Because like I said, she left when I was 4. I have very few memories of my mother. And definitely I'm not close to her even at all. So I don't know almost my entire mother's side of my family. I've only met one aunt from that side, and it was when I was very, very, very little. So I remember it, but not well. So, I mean, there's entirely the possibility that I do, but I know so little of my family that I would not know. My best guess, if I do, it would be on my mother's side, because my mother's mother, so that grandmother, who passed away a long time before I was ever born, is Native American. I know I don't look a quarter Native. I'm approximately a quarter Native. In case you're wondering, I don't look it. But she's Ojibwe Native American, and so I would assume on that side somewhere there might be a medicine person or some shaman of some kind, maybe, possibly, but I have literally no way of knowing anything about that side of my family. I know almost nothing about that side of the family, not even enough to start looking up. I couldn't find any information out about that grandmother, because I only know her married name, not her maiden name, and without knowing her maiden name, it'd be almost impossible to look anything up on her, even if I wanted to. So I have no idea. Entirely possible, but